All right, we're gonna talk about the Retic market?
I don't think we ever are at this pace. This is the
Um,
bullshit lounge with
right.
Lucas Bagnara and Nathan Katz.
Chatting it up, and I figured that it would be a good idea to kind of talk about the Retic market right now because I think a lot of people are starting to panic.
Yeah, I mean, as a retic breeder in, a recession like we talked about, a handful of episodes ago, you kind of have to prepare for stuff like this. People don't have the money to spend right now. Some do. And then you're also having to deal with, the other people in the market breeding their animals and, what they're selling their animals for. If you're not competing with prices, then, animals are staying in your cages and not moving.
Yeah, and then if they're not moving, you're doing one of two things. You're going to continue to feed them appropriately, and you're going to have to buy other racks to put them in, bigger racks, or have a wall of enclosures if you're able to afford that, to put, the animals that aren't selling. Or, one thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is they, instead of feeding hatchlings weekly, like you should, they go around and feed them every 2 weeks, and they start to limit the caloric intake so that they can fit and stay in those racks. And I don't know, I just don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, when we went into this episode, I that wasn't even a thought consideration I had. I mean, you should be feeding your animals appropriately on
Yeah,
on a good market or a bad market. I don't care.
right. And so the market now, for those of you that aren't in the know of what's going on, but yeah, the retake market and even the Superdoor stuff, like the mainland stuff, definitely. The mainland crash happened years ago, and now that we have Ocelot stuff, that and Ocelot combos, and we have pecans in the work. And
But I mean, even that stuff. I mean, even the high end mainland stuff is seeing an effect of today's
oh
market for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I was just saying, like, those have kind of revived the mainland retake market, right? The new combos.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, that's what the mainland market is thriving on for sure. I mean, it's
right.
producing new and exciting stuff for us.
Yeah. But specifically in the super dwarf world, in the dwarf world, if you aren't caught up, there was a really, really big craze, and I think that craze is still happening. We kind of have been revived, because of the efforts of Garrett Hartle at Reach Out Reptiles, and a lot of people are coming into this, and a lot of people have gotten into breeding. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that there is like the perfect storm of things that have happened in regards to like what may be contributing to the current market. But you could, back in 2017, 18, 19, retake superdoors were catching a pretty good price. Like even the 50% stuff was, I bought my Anery Motley um for a little over $2,000 just back in 2021, right? So 2 years ago. And
Yeah, I
those
mean,
prices are not the same.
yeah, a great example. I mean, I bought my Phantom Tiger male 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, for about $4,500, and I'm selling mine right now for about 2,500, 2,750, just
And they're
depending.
higher percentage.
Yeah, they're higher
Yeah.
percentage, and there's a possibility of anery in there, which wasn't even uh, listed in the mail that I bought. So it's just you have to stay competitive with what other people are selling at.
Right. Yeah, because if you're priced way too high, or you're trying to keep the prices at where they're at, it's obviously not going to work out, because people are going to be selling the retakes for a lot less than you, and actually being able to sell them. But yeah, the prices just dropped drastically. And um I messaged Nathan about doing an episode on this topic because, like, I feel like over the last 2-3 weeks, I've had more than a handful of people reach out to me and ask me, like, "Hey, like, what's going on with the Superdorf retic market? What's going on with the retic market?
Yeah, I've
Like,
had
is it?"
people ask me about pricing and everything over the last few weeks as well, and it's affecting everyone for sure.
Yeah, and I think what's happening is, you have the people who recently got in and invested a lot of money when the market was high, and now that they're seeing, like, oh damn, if I produce babies like next year, um, I was planning on selling them for $2,000-3,000 more than what they are right now, and so that is kind of scary for people who invested heavily during that time. I mean, I was one of them, right? I think my first breeding season was 2020 to 2021, and I had this idea that you know that the retail market was way better then. So I definitely, in my mind, was thinking like, yeah, there's a lot more money in this than where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I had my first clutch early 2021, I believe. And, that's in the midst of COVID. You know, who knew what people were going to be spending their money on, let alone if they were going to be spending their money on reptiles, especially when some people weren't able to work. So, you
Right.
know, it's it's always kind of a gamble in a luxury market, because ultimately that's what we're in. We're not providing, a good and
Toothpaste.
service. Yeah, we're not providing toilet paper or any good and service that you need. This
Yeah.
is purely a luxury when you look at it.
Yeah. People who don't have money to buy a pet snake, I should say, are not going to spend the money to buy a pet snake for the most part. Now, I know some of you who listen definitely buy animals when they don't have the money. Um, and yeah, but that's typically the breeding mindset, right? But when we're talking about the vast majority of people that are wanting to get a retic recently, we are also talking about people wanting their first superdorf or their second or third, with kind of they're testing the waters to see if they want to breed. And yeah, if they don't need or if they can't afford a snake, they're not going to. And so ultimately, right now in this economy, um people just aren't buying snakes as much as they were before. And I think the impact that that has had um, is dropping the prices naturally, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that I kind of want to like propose as an alternative way of thinking, because I know our thumbnail was like Elmo all on fire, and it looked like this was going to be a shit show episode. But
Well, and all we've talked about thus far is just talking about how prices have dropped. So, it's not just gloom and doom.
right. Um, but I kind of want to actually ask a question that someone, framed this to me and led me down to thinking about different things. And um, but is the retic market crashing, or are we seeing it actually stabilize?
I
And let me
tend
rephrase
I
that: the
tend
Superdorf retic market.
That's the better market I would look at in this scenario, just because it's the newer market. It's easier to kind of track the peaks and the valleys that it's been going through.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
at least from my perspective, I know about the Superdorf Dorf retic market and the locality retic market. I really don't know the value and what a mainland should be sold at besides the projects that I work with, which is Ghost and Ocelot and the mainland side of things.
yeah, I'm Switzerland. I have no mainland blood.
Anyone who does know about mainland and you're listening, drop in the comments and see, let us know kind of from that perspective. I mean, I do know, as a matter of fact, like I can at least remember, like, only a few years ago, or not even a few years ago, orange ghost stripes being $1,500 $2,000. And I think in January I saw one up on Morph Market from Bob Clark for $450.
I think you might even be able to get them cheaper now.
Yeah. And that's insane. Like that's a big drop. And we're talking about big snakes, right? We're not talking about, a niche market of like manageable size retics with the Dorf and Super Dwarf side. But anyways, I cut you off. My bad.
No, no, you're good. I mean, if if I had the impulse control I usually do with spending my money, like I do on retics. Luckily, I have a little bit of impulse control there. I would be one of those people buying one of those, $250 female OGS to,
Right.
just easily make my combo that I want to make, but it
Yeah.
ultimately
You're out
doesn't
for
lead
cows,
me
right?
down the path that I need to be going down.
Yeah. Uh, but so are we stabilizing? Are we crashing? Or are we doing a little bit of both simultaneously? I think is another option that might be happening as well.
Uh, I tend to think a little bit of stabilizing and just dealing with our current economy. I
Yeah.
think times are tough for a lot of people right now. And, like I said, it's a luxury market, so not everyone's spending money on luxury items. And then, you know, uh, yeah, I don't really see it crashing. It's still such a new market. People are excited to work with, especially some of the smaller genetics in my case.
Yeah.
Um, and with all these new genetics coming out in the retic community, I just don't see a total crash in our market. It's just
Yeah.
not really what's happening.
Yeah, I'll give my thoughts in just a second, but I wanted to throw in a little plug for Nathan. I was blown away and shocked by. So I bought a 68.75% Kalatoa, 6.25% Jampea from Nathan. She's a tiger. And they're what, 3 months old, 2 months old?
They were hatched in May, so yeah,
May,
3 months.
June, yeah, 3 months. And yeah, I received her, and she is just tiny and adorable. And I've hatched my own wild caught Kalatoas, or F1 Kalatoas, F2 Coyotes, um, other I've hatched mainlands, but I was genuinely just really impressed with how tiny she was, man.
Yeah, I mean,
And you
uh,
sent me her feeding card. She's had plenty of
oh,
meals.
she's well fed. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are definitely a couple chunkier ones in the clutch, but I mean they're all around the same size. And a couple years ago when I got babies from uh, the same mom, they're tiny. So
yeah.
I mean that's why she's a staple in my collection. She's just such a great breeder.
And why you won't
If
send
you
her to
pair
me
her,
to pair the Ocelot with?
yeah, never. Um, yeah, I mean, as long as
Triple
you do her
hets.
pairings right and plan it right, she's gonna throw awesome babies. And I'm glad you finally have some blood from Katz reptiles over there. I'm
Me too. No, I'm excited to have her. But speaking of throwing out other plugs, I think this is a good moment. Just shout out to our Patreon members. We're getting close to that 70 mark. If you guys are thinking about joining the Retic Lounge Patreon community, I don't think that there's another community out there that is not, it's a lot about retics. But there's so many other type of species that
all
are
we've
talked
talked
about on the
about all day
Discord.
today is bioactive.
Yeah, we talked about bioactive stuff. But anyways, if you're new and you're looking to connect with other people who are also new, people who have been doing this for a while, there's no hate and shame when it comes to like what experience you have. Just come give it a try. It's $5 at the smallest tier, and that'll give you Discord access. And yeah, I think you know I think we've retained a lot of these people just the Discord alone.
Yeah, our Discord is awesome. It's like I was telling Lucas before we even started recording. Keeping up with it is crazy because I mean I can go maybe a couple hours, check the same server, the same little channel, and there's 35 messages I have to like read through and like react to, and then go to the next one, and I'm like, oh my god, like there, it's just there's always something going on, so it's fun over there.
Whether you're just getting into retics or you've been breeding for years, the first place you want to visit is Stewart Design. More and more breeders keep showing up at shows, on Morph Market, and are all over social media. Sometimes it may feel possible to get anyone's attention. Stewart Designs helps small businesses like yours do big things through brand clarity, helping entrepreneurs to start and scale businesses that are easy to know and love. Their work can help any company or industry, but they've done a ton of work for ours. Stewart Design created the brands for USARK, Canova, Reach Out Reptiles, Coiled, and dozens of other well known reptile breeders. Like many of us, the owner of Stewart Design, Blake, is a keeper and breeder who fell in love with retics through first working with Garrett Hartle. Although Stewart Design does a lot of corporate work, Blake has a passion for working with people in the reptile industry. Stewart Design can help if you're just getting started or you're ready to take things to the next level. You're struggling to stand out and build your presence online or at shows. You don't want to be like the other guys or get lost in the crowd, and you want to make your own way doing what you love. And also, you have big ideas and know your business is special, but you need help sharing it with the reptile community. If something here resonates with you, reach out to Blake and have a conversation. To learn more or get started, visit stewartdesignbrands.com or call them at 855 SD Logos. Clear brands own markets. Stewart Design helps create them. If you are in the market for an enclosure for your reticulated python or any other one of your reptiles, Focus Cubed Habitats is your one-stop shop for not only the best looking cages on the market, but also provide amazing features and add-ons to your cages. We partnered with Focus Cubed Habitats because they continue to innovate and change the way we house our animals unlike any other caging company out there. Their cages are designed intelligently and provide the most stylish and secure housing for your animal's comfort and well-being. Visit focuscubedhabitats.com for your animal's caging needs. Again, visit focuscubedhabitats.com for some amazing and stylish enclosures.
We also want to thank VivTech Products for being an affiliate sponsor of the Retic Lounge. Stop by VivTech Products for the best UV spectrum lighting on the market that will enhance and improve your snake's overall well-being and health. Visit VivTechProducts.com and use the code ReticLounge23 today for 15% off. Again, visit VivTechProducts.com and use our affiliate code ReticLounge23 today for 15% off. Looking for the perfect accessories for your hatchlings or juvenile retics? Look no further than HeliGuy Serpents. Our sponsor, Chris Sexton, is coming in hot with an amazing 3D printer, creating top-notch perches and other caging accessories for your beloved pets. Enrich your retics environment with their high-quality products. Use our promo code TRL10 for a 10% discount on your purchase. Visit them today at HeliGuySerpents.com and start giving your pets the best. HeliGuy Serpents, the premier source for 3D printed caging accessories. Again, that's www.heliguyserpents.com and use our promo code TRL10 for 10% off all of your 3D printed accessories today.
Yeah. And so my thoughts about like the crashing, the stabilization, right? I think that I think there is a tiny little bit of both, and I'll go into both, but I just want to give some contextual like background information for you guys just to be aware of. I was given some of this information. I also verified and validated some of the information and went back, guys. Facebook is such a great resource when it comes to wanting to just go back to the history of, the U.S. Market pairings, breedings. Yeah, it's really cool. But anyways, so back before the Lacey ban was kind of the Lacey Act ban was cemented, people started bringing in locality animals, locality specific, right? Because, in 2009 and earlier, a lot of locality data was just not tracked. There's posts of people selling, Karampas, $250, $300, Kalatoas, $150, $200, Ternates, Halmaheras, $300, $250. Just about any locality you can get your hands on it was less than $500, right? And this was back in like 2012 and 13.
Yeah, you
And
definitely weren't seeing, anything over 1,000 most of the time, unless you're looking at pairs.
yeah, and on top of that, the stuff that was selling for that was all like, morphs and crazy stuff like that. And then when you go to 2014, um, that's when the Lacey Act ban was kind of introduced and was starting to be like it was already in place that importation was um, banned. And then the prices started going up. So you have like wild caught Karampa pairs you can find on Facebook. They were $1,500 to $2,000. Calatos, Madus, Kayuatis, Jamps. Those pairs were $800.
And wait,
Um,
wait, wait. So 2014 interstate commerce is locked down, correct?
no, that was in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2014 was when the Lacey Act banned that stopped importation. Right. So
Okay.
now we can't import, and so now locality stuff started seeing a rise, and so um, then you could get and those were all wild caught, by the way, those super dwarf localities. And then if you wanted CBB, um, like uh, well, let me back up a bit before I go into the CBB stuff. So um, once 2016 hit, that's when interstate commerce. Oh wait, no, you were right. In 2014, interstate commerce stopped,
Yeah,
and
I'm trying.
that's when those prices jacked up. You're right.
Yeah, I was trying to remember because I thought 2016 when it opened
That's when
up
it came
again.
back. Yeah,
Yeah, because I had a buddy back then who, as soon as it happened, grabbed his green anaconda.
right. So my apologies. 2014 interstate commerce ban, and that's when everything started going up. Um, and then when interstate commerce came back, um, importation still couldn't come back, and that's when we started seeing that the superdorf market craze started in like 2016-17, and um the hype was real, man. Like the hype, like people were learning that retics got really small and or at the very least could be manageable size. And
Yeah, it had been publicated before that they had other localities that stay small, but there just wasn't a ton of interest in it.
yeah, yeah. um and so that's when kind of marketing started happening towards these super dwarf and dwarf reticulated pythons. And we saw a huge, just like massive increase um in their value because demand was at an all-time high. They were up 300 to 500%. We're talking about, you know, Karampas and Madus, even though they are rare, right? Super rare. You can't find them, but $10,000, $12,000. And even Kalatoas up to like 6,000 a pair. Um, and so we started seeing this like really boom, like prices shot up and people were buying them um, because of their rarity, right? Uh, and yeah, I mean, that's when it was at an all time high, and that's kind of where like I came in and started getting into retics right in 2018. Um, but I mean, even in 2018, my Kayuati was valued at 1,500. Um, so with that being said, Nathan, like, what are your thoughts in regards to like? So you mentioned stabilization, and that's kind of where your thought was going as far as that. Can you kind of give a little bit of information in regards to like what's happening now that you're seeing stabilization?
I mean, it's just driving people to really understand the market a little bit better. I've seen some great posts on the Retic Nation of people just, I don't even know if it was the Nation or the Retic Alliance, one of these pages, but just someone asking for just how to get better information on, understanding how to invest into an animal. So just the fact that we're starting to see interaction like that a little bit more frequently is
Hmm.
a good sign to me. In terms of stabilization, I look at it almost like any of the new morphs. So yeah, the super dwarf is hot right now, and it's been hot for a handful of years. But eventually, the market has to stabilize to a point where it's relatively affordable. Yeah, when you get these new morph projects and stuff working into it, you're going to have higher priced animals. But once something's super established in Super Dwarf, there's no reason for it to be, you know, $6,000 an animal anymore. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Obviously, the economy will fluctuate the price a little bit. When we have more to spend, those prices go up. When we have less to spend, those prices go down.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
And I also think part of the stabilization is just like as people were buying them and started getting into breeding, we now have more being produced. And, before back in 2017, 2018, you could ask around, where can I buy a true, Superdorf or Superdorf, combo or and maybe like five people that you could
Yeah, I want to
probably
say when you and I produced our first clutches, there were probably less than 25 people. I'm just throwing out a rough estimate.
right. Um
It could be a little bit higher, but really, your options were super limited back then.
Yeah, and we say back then like it was ages
It
ago, but
was 2 years ago.
yeah, exactly.
And so that just goes to show you how heavily invested people have got into this. I mean, look at how many clutches has been produced by new people this year. It's
Right.
incredible. I love to see it. I mean,
Yeah,
I want people to be producing these animals because I love them so much. I want there to be an amazing array of options when it comes to, just great animals I can either work with in my collection or just, being able to cheer on someone who's, you know, been in my corner at some point in time.
right. And and now if we're looking at who we can buy a Superdorf retake from or who's produced, and I'm not necessarily saying like pures, right? And I'm going to continue. I know I publicly state I don't like the term Superdorf and Dorf, but in this case, I'm using those terms because of,
Well, we're talking about marketing and the market. So
right,
if we don't use the marketing terms, I don't
right.
think we'd do this episode justice.
And in addition to that, I also feel like it's I'm not just talking about pure locality. I'm not talking about those things. I'm just talking about Superdorf and Dorf in general. So right now, those of you that don't know, we consider a 50 if a retic is at least 50% of any one of the Superdorf islands, it's considered a Superdorf. Same goes for Dorf. And so yeah, I just you can a lot more people are producing them and they're becoming more available from more than just a dozen people and so naturally I think that prices are going to start to go down because right now we've already been doing this for several years after the like very peak of when people were charging a lot of money um, for that and people bought in early and we're plenty of us are producing now and so I think that part is you're absolutely correct when it comes to stabilizing um the market from that perspective but I also see a little bit of market crashing as well. Do you see that like at all?
Yeah, I mean, the market's always going to be reactive, right?
Hmm.
So we've had a rough year
Yeah.
in the retic world, in the reptile world. It's been a rough year.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's across the board. Um, so yeah, our market definitely has been a little bit reactive of that, but again, there's ebbs and flows to all of this, and there's going to be another, you know, great age of reptiles where everyone wants a pet reptile and they're a glorified pet, but it takes time and you
Yeah.
kind of have to be patient.
Yeah, I think a really big thing as well that really like bought a lot of people into the hype of wanting to become a breeder is, during that time of like 2020, 2021, we were getting COVID money. We got up to, there was over
Yeah,
$3,500 of,
we kind of
free money.
Yeah, we kinda touched on that earlier. I mean, we had no idea how COVID was gonna affect us all I in terms of our finances, and, no, I don't think anyone could have foreseen the government starting to send us checks in the mail. Uh,
And
and,
just like good snake people,
when
when
the
you get free
government starts
money,
sending us money, we're like, "We've
that's
never seen this
snakes.
before. Get snakes."
Right.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what we didn't hit on with that, is that caused people, I think, to um, it caused more people to produce more animals because I think it gave a false sense of like where the market truly was. People thought that the market was at, like I said, like $2,200 for 50% Annery Motley. And people thought that that was like the market price. But in reality, we all had just money in our pocket that was given to us for free. And we
Yeah.
don't have that anymore. So I think naturally the prices, start to go down because people don't have free money to spend on uh snakes anymore.
Yeah.
And because so many people bought during that time, I think that's what's causing that, in combination with the recession, is causing a little bit of a crash. And what I mean by a crash is that I think that people are selling their animals much less than where people will sell their animals when the economy stabilizes. I think we're seeing a low, and it might get a little bit lower, in my opinion.
I could
Uh,
agree to that.
but I do see the prices stabilizing and going back up when the economy gets better.
Yeah, I think that's all in stabilization though. You're not gonna just, go to the price point where everything settles at. You're gonna see that little bit of a crash and then, you know, stabilizing to the point where it's a reasonable market for everyone.
Right. It's almost like I've kind of dabbled in like cryptocurrency a little bit, and you always see that kind of happen in cryptocurrency. Is you have this like the rumors of it starting to boom, and then people flood in and they buy in, and that helps with the booming boom boom. And then you hit like a just it starts to go down, and then it just spirals. And then if you're smart, you well, with cryptocurrency, not snakes, if you're smart, you sell out high. But if you don't and you hold on to it, it typically goes down, but then you start to see it kind of like coast and stabilize where it fluctuates like this. And so I think we're getting towards the bottom.
I would agree. So that brings me to a question I have for you then. With all this stabilization, with this little bit of a crash, um, like, should we still be investing into retics? And like, is this a good business plan? Are you going to be able to get rich quick off of this? Is it something you're going to make a lot of money off in the long run anyway?
Yeah. Um, I think there's a potential to make a lot of money. Like absolutely. And I'm like, if you would have asked me, um, before I bought my first retic, if I thought I would bring in the money that I've brought in breeding these animals, I would have said no. And just to give some frame of reference, that'll also give some background into like where the market was. But my first clutch that I sold in 2020, uh, man, what, 2023,
It was the year after me, so
20, I'm
right?
sorry,
2.
2022. Yeah. So I had a clutch of F1 Calatoas. I sold 14 babies, and those babies sold in 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks, I brought in like I don't know the number off, but like high 30s, low 40s, um, in terms of thousand, right? Like between 38 and 40,000 is what I brought in from that single clutch. If any of you don't think that that's a lot of money for a single clutch, like that's then I don't know what to tell you. And then my Coyote clutch brought in a lot of money. So yeah, I do think you can make a lot of money, but you also have to realize you are spending a lot of money as well.
Yeah, when
Um,
your collection grows, your food bill grows. I mean, if you're doing this long term and investing into it properly, that money's being recycled into the business almost as fast as it comes in.
right. But do I think it's a get rich quick? Like, absolutely not. Because
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work that goes into, number one, like giving yourself a name that people are even going to consider buying animals from you. Especially in today's world where there's a bunch of people that are producing Superdwarf stuff. Like I follow everyone who follows me on Instagram, and I'll go through my stories and I'll see that someone's hatching um a Superdwarf clutch, and I click on their profile and I'm like, who's this? Right? And so more people are doing it, so it makes it even harder. But so yeah, definitely not a get rich quick. And my biggest advice to anybody, like in terms of like from a marketing standpoint and like what you do as a breeder, is like, don't go big. Um it just it I don't know why. I don't even know if this is a real thing, but from my observation, it seems like you can be very profitable and make good money. Um, you with the number of animals that you have if you keep it manageable, but it's not like a normal market where like it it's at some point when you have a lot of animals, the overhead just gets too much. And then you stop profiting way less. Like you profit way less than you did when your size of your collection was, more manageable. And so
Yeah.
um but I do think if anybody is serious and you're riding this wave and you know you're going to stick with it because breeding is something that you've done or want to do, um like I don't know, I know that we've talked about this before, Nathan, but you've that first experience of getting to see those snakes hatch, and that first experience of pulling a clutch of eggs from a female, um was all I needed to know, like, yeah, I'm doing this. Like that there's not many better feelings in the world.
Yeah. I feel like for some people, the even though that's an amazing experience, the paycheck can outweigh that. So I think it's a money versus passion thing. If the money outweighs the passion, then you're kind of screwed.
In times like
You're
this.
if the animals just bring you so much joy that there's something inside you burning where you can't not work with these animals more, I think that's when you're in a good spot.
Yeah. And for those of you that are riding the low wave right now in this crash, that, I like I said, I think it will go back up and hit a stabilization point. I think that now's the right time for you to buy animals. Buy your investment projects now, because you're probably not going to be able to buy them cheaper than you. I'm dead
This
serious, man.
no, I totally get it. I mean, it's really kind of the situation I got into with my purple from Eric Lee years ago. I mean, I got it at a stupid price that you would never be able to get this animal at, even now. And like, we just have more information.
Right.
Like, I didn't realize how lucky I was getting with that animal. You can realize how lucky you're getting with these genetics right now and get something at a really decent price. And I've been able to have people get into some really cool projects this year at a pretty affordable price.
Yeah. And that's like, so and I'll give you an example. Like I have a clutch of these Super Dwarf head anthraxes, and you know, um
Uh,
Sean, someone else produced them the year before, and when that market crashed, the price of head anthraxes and Super Dwarfs, which, if you guys have a visual anthrax Super Dwarf, let me know. I've only seen a picture of one of them, and even there's some people that are debating on like, how legit is that? Um, and so it's a brand new recessive on an awesome gene, and yet, I have them right now, and I'm selling pairs for, $2,500 and individuals for 1,500, and that's really low for a new recessive project. But that's just where we're at right now.
yeah. These projects take years and years.
And so it's like, yeah, if you have the money, right? And I understand not everyone does, but if you have the money, or you have, business, you have business money to send, whether you took a loan out or whatever the case may be. Um, yeah, now's the right time to buy into the project that you want, because I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that are working in very high end retic morph stuff that say $8,000 for this animal, and if you offer them 4,500, they're not. that most of them are saying yes. Um, there's the smoking mirrors that some of these prices are at. Now's the time for you to throw offers to do that. Now is actually a good time, I think, for people to actually be investing, because it's probably going to be the lower price that you see some of the projects. But and then if you're weird like me and you like localities more than you like morphs, if we talk about like a stable um, market, you know, let we could talk about Ternates. They've been roughly $1,500 to $2,000. You talk about Calatoas, and when they were being sold as wild caughts or CBBs early on, they were 1,500 $2,000, and that's kind of where we're seeing them now. I'm not gonna I'll throw a little curveball in here, even though a lot of the Calatoas out there being produced un have questions in those lineages, and that's all I'll say. Um, but I mean, even stuff like my Coyotes that I have, and those are locality animals that are true locality animals, are always going to be $1,200-$1,500 or more per animal, and so that's a safe investment to get into.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, protecting those pure lineages and being able to outcross into other pure lineages just to, create fresh blood or diverse bloodlines, then there's always a value in that.
Yeah, so I think it is still a good idea to invest. I'm not saying the retic market is burning and crashing, and I've watched some recent podcasts that people are unhappy with where the market is now, and I am too. But we're hitting the low point, and we're going to stabilize. And if you've talked to other breeders like I have, this is not the first time that this has happened.
And it definitely will not be the last.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that it comes and goes in waves, and I just think that the panic is settling in, because I think both the stabilization and the crash happened at the same time. Like, we were already going down with stabilization, and then economy is a shit show right now, and so it went down even more. And
And then
people,
state of our industry just within the last year, it's an amalgamation of everything.
yeah, what word was that? Amalgamation.
I'm not going to repeat myself, Lucas. Let's move on.
uh, I'm using that, amalgamation. We need to make a clip of that so we can see that read out. But yeah, so like I definitely think that now's a good time to invest. Now's a good time to start your long-term projects. Your double, triple recesses, and making those animals for you to keep and not worry about selling, for those of you that are doing it right. But I just want to give like one more little disclaimer. Part of this market crash is just because I think we are at a point right now where demand is not where supply is. Like, we have way more supply. So during a um Nathan just sent me the definition of amalgamation. I guess I'm the idiot. Um an opportunity, okay, the state to be the action or process of uniting or merging two or more things. You are that I'm impressed.
I'm
I'm
not as dumb as
impressed.
I look.
Even though he did score like a 102 on the autism spectrum disorder assessment today. Um,
uh,
the cutoff is like
uh,
80, by the way. But
hey, it said in the description, people outside of the autism spectrum may score this high. Just weird. I like snakes.
I, li- I like turtles. Um, but anyway, so I think that has caused a little bit of a panic. That amalgamation of the crash. I was talking about supply and demand. So yeah, for those of you that are planning on breeding this year, I've said this before, and it's kind of a selfish thing to say, but I've said it like even like 6-8 months ago. But if you're not like breeding during a recession and overproduction can make this a lot worse. If you guys are still planning on doing like 6 to 10 pairings or more, and it's of animals that there's 100 of them out there, um, yeah, maybe think twice. Maybe hold back a little bit, wait a little bit longer to get your return on investment. In my opinion, I've always said like during this recession, if your pairing is not producing something that is advancing the industry, which again is subjective, right? I'm not the end all be all of what advancement means, right? Because like someone could look at Nathan's clutch, for example, say, well, he just produced phantom tigers and albinos and stuff like that. But also at the same time, they're at 68.75% for phantom tigers. And
Yep.
there are snows and there are purples. Like so
Everything's 100% het purple.
right. So advances in the industry is definitely a subjective thing. So don't
Hmm.
take this as like I'm trying to dictate what is an advancement or not, right? But like if you're going to like moving forward, if you're producing a clutch of 43.75% platinums, maybe wait. Maybe wait. Like, do we need more of those? And hopefully no one feels attacked or hurt that I'm saying this, but that's just kind of where I'm coming from. Um, because it's those people potentially doing those pairings and dropping the price even more because they're not selling because there's already 50 of them available and they've been available for 6 months and no one's buying them.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I guess that's Lucas's rant for the episode. We got away from that, but
No, I'm in that position because I could potentially do that pairing and run back some animals, but is it completely worth it in the long run?
right, right. Like my Coyote, for some reason, my Coyote and Ocelot didn't hit it off. Coyote went off of food. The Ocelot didn't take to her. Like, would that have been an advancement in the US market? Absolutely. But if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of relieved that that pairing didn't happen because that would have been 25 to 30 eggs of super dwarf head ocelots that I don't think anyone is spending $10,000 for an animal right now. Like I would have been kind of, with that big of a clutch for the US first super dwarf head ocelots, like I would have sat on those things for a very long time.
Yeah. I don't have much to add to that.
No, I think it's like a blessing in disguise that it didn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been cool.
Yeah,
It would have
it'll
but
happen
yeah, it'll happen in the future. It's
in a
not.
better market.
Yeah.
Um,
People don't get as lucky this year. That's it.
exactly. Uh, you did you got anything else to add to the market?
I mean, my message on here is always the same. If you're worried about the market and you're thinking sell, 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 you're in it for the wrong reasons. I'm in it because every time I get to interact with these animals, each time that I realize that I'm working with reticulated pythons in my collection, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
Just that that's in my house.
Yeah.
Um, the fact that they're the size that they are, the morph combinations that we have available to us now, just it's all stuff that just drives me every day and just keeps that passion alive. I'm so happy that we get to work with these animals, that we have a market to begin with.
Right.
So yeah, if you're not in it for the passion, get out now.
And now's the right time to get out.
Yeah, it's perfect time.
I agree with that. I also think that it's like totally okay that you want to make money
Yeah,
breeding
we
these animals, but
we
like
all want this to sustain us a little bit. We all want this to, make it easier to buy animals and do more fun things in the future, as well as give us a little bit of spending cash. But that's not the end all be all.
right. And I think what we're seeing a lot is people getting out. And I think times like this, with the amalgamation that's going on and the recession going on, I think what we end up seeing is what I've seen a lot of is people who were in it just for the money are now out. And again, if you got in it just for the money, like, again, I'm not judging you for that, but it's tough times like this where we start to see the people who actually were kind of in it for the money.
No, I
Um,
don't blame you at all. I mean, it was sold to everyone as, you can make a ton of money off these animals in just a few years, but
yeah,
just a few years can change everything.
yeah. I mean, we literally from, if you bought an animal 4 years ago in 2019, you bought it at like almost an all-time high, and now that your female is getting ready to breed the first year, look at the market that you're in. It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, but if you're just looking at it as, oh, I could have made this, but I'm making
Right,
this, like you're still able to sustain your collection. You're still able to breed and make money. It's not like no one's making money and we're selling these things for,
right.
cents on the dollar. But
Just be patient because
yeah,
once you start to actually breed and sell animals, and once your collection starts to be self-sustained, right? Like the animals you sell pays for the hobby in and of itself, and you don't have to bleed out of your personal pocket. That's a good feeling when that starts to happen. Because then you can have fun. You can play around. You don't have to worry about like the big investment you made. You don't have to tiptoe around. You can, pay for food without your wife or husband being pissed at you that you're spending money on snakes. That's when it starts to get good. So for those of you that actually love these animals, have a passion for them, and like retics are your thing, um, just hang in tight. Like this episode is not a, you know doomsday episode. Like, very much I truly feel that the market's going to stabilize, and just be patient. If you got to skip a year of breeding, it's not the end of the world, and just hang in tight, and love your animals, care for them, and they'll reward you.
yeah, couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
Everyone, just want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Retic Lounge. Remember, we have our 1,000 subscriber giveaway on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, and we'll be picking a winner at random. Beyond that, join our Discord. Make sure you give love to all our sponsors, and we'll see you next week.